Hey, what's happening? It's your host, Tinto, and it's that time of the week where I try and get you over the hump just a little bit, just so that you get over the stresses of what may be bugging you at work or stresses of life in general. The midweek drop by nature is one that has chilled, laid back conversations that we keep cool and kosher and calm and collected and fun. And this should be the same, but a good friend of mine got in touch with me this week and they said, look, they got a story to share and they'd like it to be a midweek drop. I wasn't sure I was going to do that because it's just not the way midweek drops are. But then after recording the episode, it made sense why this would have been a midweek drop, because it's very different to what we typically do on the podcast. Yes, it does involve a breakup of a sort, but just a different kind. One which warranted this being a one-off story that I hope will really speak to more than just myself, because it really spoke to me. And I hope it does the same for you. And here it is.
Hi.
Is that the best you can give me in terms of a greeting, bruh?
I don't know. What am I supposed to do? I don't know.
Just say hi in a bit more excited way. Aren't you happy to be? Aren't you happy to be on the feeling station? Jeez.
I'm excited to be on the feeling station.
I think I need to start having pre-conversations with all you people just to tell you that you need to be more enthusiastic. What the hell, man? This is like the third episode in a row.
But no. But guys, to be fair, we're talking about separation, breakup stories, and all of that.
Yeah, which have happened in the past. So now you're liberated, free, and happy.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
All right. Fine.
Welcome to the feeling station.
Thank you.
For those who are listening to the podcast for the first time, it's a romantic, family, and friendship breakup podcast showcasing stories that people would like to talk about with a view to give you lessons from their experiences. Now, I hope you find today's story entertaining, but more importantly, meaningful. And the podcast is really popular for two main reasons. The first being I do my best to keep my guests anonymous by giving them a name from the African continent, which they will use for the duration of the episode. Are you ready for your name, my friend?
I'm ready for my name, but I don't know how anonymous this can become.
Yeah, don't worry.
Okay.
It's anonymous enough.
Let's see.
So your name is from Burundi, and it's in Kirundi, which is the national language, and your name is Baraka. So think about Barak, right? But with an A at the end, Baraka.
Okay.
Right, and what that means is somebody who's a blessing.
Okay. I am a blessing.
You are a blessing too.
Of course I'm a blessing. Dude.
Let's ask the person that you're going to be talking about today. So your name is Baraka, and what's the name of the person you're talking about today?
Okay, so I'll be talking about, I'll call her Lily.
Oh, you're going to call her Lily?
Yes.
Very interesting. So what, this is a friendship breakup?
Yes, this is.
Me like it.
You never know. Maybe I'm now LG.
Hey,
you never know.
Come on, girl.
I'm kidding.
You can be anything you want these days.
Yeah, you never know these things.
Okay, so this is about Baraka and Lily.
Yes.
And the second reason why this podcast is doing really well is they're real life lessons that people walk away from the story that you're going to share.
Yeah.
So what would you like anybody to take away?
Okay, I just have one lesson today. Just one.
Just one?
Yep.
Okay, right.
And my lesson is, don't hold back your love, man. Just love when you have to love, because I believe, or this situation helped me realize that it's easy to let go if you know that you've really loved.
Hey, that's dope, eh?
Yeah.
So if I'm to paraphrase that, you're saying that when you love, just love, and then leaving or separation is easier when you know that you're loved without holding back.
Yeah, I mean, if I try to think about what happens these days, we claim to love unconditionally, like, we love a person, but then there's certain moments we hold back and, we hold back, perhaps we're trying to protect ourselves or something. And then we don't really express our love for our friends or whoever. So, and most of the time when we do break up, it's one of those where it's like, I don't know, perhaps it's that sting of regret that maybe this could have gone on had I loved in this way, but you can't do it anymore because
Yeah.
because there's no more chance to do it.
Cool. So, Baraka, this is your.
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten my name. Thanks.
Don't give me no work in post production, I beg, please. Right.
Okay, I'll try.
Write it
Let me just write it down here.
Thank you, Baraka. So this is your story to tell. Walk me through your journey with Lily.
Okay, so the story starts when I tried to jot some stuff down, so I kind of remember the sequence of events. This happened like, I don't know, 3-ish years ago,
Okay.
I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this started when I moved to another country. And I moved to this country to study. And I moved to a country where they spoke a completely different language. And this language was not even relatable to where I'm from. The rhythm didn't even make sense. You know how it is, like if you hear someone speaking Chinese and there's that rhythm, you can tell like, oh, you know, this person is speaking Chinese, or like our Nguni languages with clicks from Africa. Like you can tell that, you know, this is what it is. But this one, it was, it was
a different ball game altogether.
It was a different ball game altogether. The weather was also very horrible, you know. So as I went for my studies, we were like 30 people in my class. And almost everyone was from everywhere in the world. And some of the countries these people in, like, I had never heard of them before. I learned with people from Kazakhstan, learned with people from Myanmar, Palestine, Switzerland, Bulgaria, and so many more other countries, including myself from the entire Africa, I would say.
Wow.
So I had all sorts of shock, you know, from culture shock, language shock, weather shock, food shock. Sometimes the pressure of, you know, representing not just my country, but almost the entire Africa kind of shock. And even like friendships shock, I would say. Yeah. So I'm generally a person that likes to laugh. I think already by now I've giggled and chuckled.
You have, right to the beginning.
That's me. Yes. I love to laugh. And for me, that comes very easily. Like, we don't even need to do too much for me to laugh. I laugh pretty easy. But for some reason, not even for some reason, but for the reason of all of these shocks that I was just experiencing, laughter in this country wasn't hitting right.
What do you mean?
You know, it was like vanilla jokes, like, you know, just meh, you know, and it was not, it wasn't working. But anyway.
Yeah. I get.
No, it wasn't hitting right. It was so hard to laugh. I can relate to the jokes.
I remember when I hit my first joke when I came here, it completely went over my head. But it went something like, the reason why short people argue a lot is because they can't see the point. Yeah, that's the joke.
I'm sorry.
It wasn't meant to be that funny.
Oh my God, sorry. I told you it does not take a lot for me to die.
But come on, you know, there's some levels of these jokes. Yeah, I've since acclimatized. I get the humor now, but yeah.
Yes, but the first time you hear it, you're like,
yeah, exactly.
You know. But like, I can tell you that the ones this side were not even like that.
Really? They were worse than that.
It was vanilla, bro. Like, it was just not working.
Yeah.
So I actually remember, you know, when I kind of was like, you know, when I was like, okay, this is where I live now and this is my life. I remember a little piece of me like died after I realized, wow, this is my life now, you know. And now I need to get used to these vanilla laughs. Vanilla laughs are for me now. Me and vanilla laughs, we live together, you know, we are one. And so weeks turned into a month, into 2 months, 4 and 9 months. Time was moving. And I was kind of getting the hang of living in this place. I was now even that vanilla girl. And perhaps I was even telling a couple of vanilla jokes myself now. But I was just this, I was just this, vanilla girl that was very reserved. And I don't think I'm generally like this reserved person. I think you know that. So in this country, another context, in this country, if you do not have a social security number, life is generally impossible, So this social security number is connected to almost everything, to your bank, to your visits at the hospital, to online purchases, basically everything that makes your life make sense. And then to add on to this country is perhaps 98 to 99% cashless.
So they have your financial data as well then?
Yes, they have everything on you, basically. I would say everything important, I would say, on you. For my first year in this place, I did not have a social security number. And this was because of like immigration reasons and whatever. So I didn't have one. And for money, since I did not have like a bank account like that, I had a cash card. So you can't tap, but you have to like insert the card into the, point of purchase, whatever. And you need to click in your number and whatever. Or I need to withdraw cash. At least 1% of the society can still use cash. So I was a little bit limited there. So if I needed to pay my rent, they were not taking cash. So for me to take rent, to pay my rent, I had to go to an ATM machine, withdraw cash, and go to a relative's house and give them cash.
Bruh.
And that relative had like a social security number. So give them the cash and they could pay my rent online for me. And then she goes out and sorts the cash in her account. Like she can go to the bank now and deposit this cash so that it gets into her account. And it was like, hey, we're dealing drugs now and stuff, but I was just paying my rent. So anyway, for purposes of the story, I'll actually call this person Pablo, this relative. Like we call her Pablo. So every month I'm going to Pablo's house to sort out my rent wars. And also, just to add, it will perhaps make sense later. Pablo was a medical doctor. She has a family. And, so we didn't have time to be hanging out with Pablo. Pablo has cool people, but I didn't have, none of us had time to say, okay, I'm going to hang out with Pablo and chill and whatever. So when I'm going to give her money for my rent, that's how we chill and stuff. So anyway, one day I'm at Pablo's house and then I see Lily. And Pablo knew Lily from Pablo had her friend from, I don't know, and this friend knew Lily. So Lily was also coming for studies in this country.
Okay.
And Pablo's friend introduced Lily please look out for my, cousin or whatever. Her name's Lily. So Lily would here and there go to Pablo's place.
So I'm assuming Lily's from a different country to yours. So
Lily was actually from the same country.
As yours?
Yes, as mine.
Okay, yeah.
And Lily was also here to study. Lily was also like my age mate. And Lily was pretty bubbly, I must say. And I should add this, Lily was a breath of fresh air. And the day that I met Lily, we hit it off and I laughed so hard. And for the first time in several months, I could feel myself let loose and it was such a beautiful feeling, But Lily studied in a different city. We are in the same country, but Lily studied in another city. So we couldn't meet very often, but instead we exchanged numbers so we could occasionally keep in touch. Long and short of it, Lily and we became really good friends. That was the end of vanilla loves for me. So fast forward, I graduated from my studies and then I got a job, which was meant to start after the summer. And I had to move to that place. And also accommodation, and generally a problem in the city, especially. So I worked this job just for a few months, and oh boy, I hated this job. And I just started to look for other jobs elsewhere. Then I got another job, which was in Bra, like basically the last part of this country. Like it was far from from the city that I was moving in. So this city is even like it's closer to the next country than it is closer to the other cities within the country that it's so it's really far away. And then funny enough, Lily then got a job in the place that I'm leaving roughly around the same time. So it was like, oh gosh, it's very for us to, be in the same space. So anyway, we continue. So Lily was looking for accommodation, and then the accommodation that I was in, that I was going to leave, I asked my landlord, can Lily come and live here and she can continue with my contract? And yeah, so anyway, my landlord said, fantastic. So everything went well. I moved to this far away city. And Lily and I kept in touch, it was fantastic. So she was like, I'd be happy to visit whenever if I get the chance to. So I was just like, it's fine. You can come. But for me, it was, one of those when people say, oh, yeah, I would like to come and visit you, Tinto, in the UK. And then I just like, okay. But then it never really happened,
Yeah.
And I didn't really think that Lily was going to come and visit me. And so now I've been working this job for about a year in this faraway city. We'll just call it in Neverland. I'm in Neverland. I've been working for about a year. Then Lily gives me a call. She's like, hi, friend. And then we break out into laughter. That was like a normal thing for us to do. And then we start to laugh. And then she's like, is that visit still, open? And I was like, yeah, sure, of course. You can come if you want to come. So we proceed to chat and, chatting, laughing, great vibes and all of that. And just as we're about to hang up, then Lily says, oh, I'm bringing a friend. And then she hangs up. Boy, was I annoyed. But I can tell you, this was very typical of Lily's behavior. This is what actually added to Lily's authenticity. This is who she was, basically. But I was just like, what the heck, And then FYI, I lived in a 25 square meter studio apartment at this time. Yeah. And so I was now thinking, gosh, accommodating 2 extra people for a weekend. I wasn't sure about that. And I didn't even know who this person was, where this person was from. And, I was a little bit panicky, like, what? So anyway, Lily comes. We call the person that Lily came with, we call her Amy. So Lily comes with Amy. And Amy is not my cup of tea. She's snobbish, and she wanted to be like an alpha girl in my 25 square meter studio apartment.
But what's an alpha girl?
Like she's like, how do I define this? Like she wants to be bossy. She's like a Tinto. What's an alpha girl? Like just basically a bossy girl,
right?
Yeah, so this girl wants to come in and be bossy in my apartment, in my very tiny apartment. We laughed about it later on when we were talking about, hey, my friend Baraka, you lived in a lunchbox.
Okay.
Anyway, so she wanted to be bossy in this, and we all know who wasn't having that. That was me. Because we I would say somewhat have the same-ish alpha energy, I would say. So anyway, we came and I was still not feeling her. And then I said, there's a museum close by. There's like an exhibition about music. So, let's go. Maybe it will be fun. And then we go for this exhibition. And if I'm very honest, it actually was very nice. And even Amy and I were now even laughing together. It was now even great. And I think we allowed the music to melt our tension.
Right.
Amy and I. So it was really good.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, this was actually like one of the best girls' weekends I have had in my entire life, I would say.
Mad.
Yes. And the beginning of a beautiful trio, a trio of Lily, Amy, and myself. So Lily and Amy lived closer to each other. and I was the one who was in Neverland, halfway across that country.
Yeah.
And in this friendship, it was not the ones I was telling you about where someone says, "Oh, I'll come and visit you. Don't worry." Like we would really visit each other. They didn't care that I lived in Neverland. I also didn't care that they were also halfway up there in the country. We really made time for each other. We visited each other. We showed up for each other for our birthdays, for like celebrations. Maybe during, I don't know, Christmas. Yeah, we could meet up. Even for no reason, we could meet up. Distance was not even an issue for us. We even created a WhatsApp group where we chatted about anything and everything.
So, out of curiosity, when you're talking distance, would it take you an hour or two to get to them if you needed to?
So with a high-speed train, it would take you 3.5 hours.
Yo, that is far.
So it is really far away.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And if you're driving almost 6 hours. Yeah. So then I moved out of my lunchbox into a bigger apartment. And then one time, we're on the phone. We were video calls, 3-way video calls. These were now like a regular for us. And on this call, then one spontaneous, I think it was Amy, I don't remember if it was Amy or Lily, decided, we should come and visit you, Baraka. Then I was like, okay, cool. You guys can come. So trains also, I might add, pretty expensive generally. So for you to get a cheaper one, it's either you're booking actually not even either, you are booking a non-rebookable ticket. This means if I book this ticket, I just have to make sure I'm going on this time. So if I miss this train, I have to pay for a new ticket, or so I just have to be there. I cannot book it again or shift the time. Once it's booked, it's booked. So anyway, my 2 buddies decide to book a non-rebookable ticket for a weekend. And this weekend is supposed to be like from Friday to Sunday, right? And then they booked, did their stuff. All of this is happening on a video call. And then they're like, oh yeah, done. Now we have our tickets and stuff. So they booked from Friday to Sunday. But then they made a mistake. And they booked from Friday to the next Sunday.
Well, you're going to have company for a whole week.
If for 9 days. So this meant that, yay, they're not going to be here for 9 days. And a reminder, these were non-rebookable tickets.
Yo.
So it meant I had to be with these girls for this long. I really loved these girls. No kidding. But guys, 9 days. So anyway, in my head, I started to think like, what can we do? I really need to find activities to be able to, help us not to argue so much or whatever, like just to do something, because in my head, this was going to be the time we fight so much and end this beautiful relationship that we had. But then, spoiler alert, this was another hands down beautiful 9 days with Lily and Amy.
Okay, I didn't expect that.
So fantastic. It worked out really good. Yeah. We gave each other some kind of boundaries. Like, okay, we all cook together, because, sometimes these arguments start from silly things like, but I cooked yesterday and then I bought this food, so we already started to be, okay, everyone is contributing to food. Everyone is going to cook. Everyone pitches in, right? So we did all of that. We didn't even do all the other activities that I said, okay, we do these things so that maybe we don't hate each other, or we don't argue or whatever, but really went smoothly. Fantastic 9 days, I would say. We got to know each other even much more than we did. We knew stuff like, Amy was in a long distance relationship and that she was a vegan. Lily was lactose intolerant, and we knew she would take she was she would have how do I explain? When you eat fatty foods and then you get a bit of elevated acid. So she had that, and then we knew that she even took omeprazole. This I think it's an anti-acid tablet. Yes, so we knew that she was lactose intolerant. She took omeprazole when she ate oily foods. And for me, I can say maybe they knew that I had a very sensitive sense of smell. So I can smell a lot of things and I get easily disgusted, I
Right.
would say. Anyway, fast forward, Amy, the one who was in the long distance relationship, gets married and moves out of the country. No, not out of the country, out of the continent.
Yo, like she moved.
Yeah, and she went to be with Mans, And this made us very sad, but also very happy at the same time. And we tried to include Amy as much as possible in what we did. For example, like if it was Lily's birthday, Amy and I would, put money together. And then I would, over here, since Lily and I are in the same country, I would buy Lily cake, I would buy Lily flowers, and then take her out for lunch. And when we went for lunch, Lily would pick the restaurant most of the time because Lily was the lactose intolerant girl and she had her acid wars.
Right.
So on one of our lunches, I even took omeprazole in my bag in case she had forgotten to bring some for herself. That's how we rolled. That's how we showed each other love in the most small actions. I remember one of the times we went to, it was just before Amy was going to move and go, since she was married. And then we were like, let's go out and let's go dancing. So we went dancing. Amy liked to dance a lot, like to dance. And we were tired, myself and Lily. And then I was like, yes, I was like, we're thirsty. Let's go drink some water, if you like. Then we go to the bar and then we ask for water and then we get water. And then Lily asked for more water. And I'm like, gosh, girl, are you that thirsty? And then she was like, no, Amy's dancing, so I'm sure she's not going to think about water. So we're going to bring water for Amy, so it's just these small little acts of,
kindness. Yeah.
Yeah. This for me was like, I really like, this is more genuine than, I really loved it. That's how we were all kind to each other, or like me bringing these meds for Lily in case she's forgotten hers, or, stuff like that. That's how we rolled. We really, I would like to say we really did love each other so much. Right. So anyway, fast forward, we keep these three-way calls alive. And then in one of these calls, Lily said, I've got a stomach ache. And then she was like, yeah, it's because I ate a burger, So we're like, but also Lily, why were we're having burgers and you know very well that, you're not really supposed to be doing this. And then anyway, we chuckled. We chuckled it off and we said, maybe if you take your meds, it's going to go away. And she was like, the reason I'm saying this is because I have been taking these meds and it's not going away. Then she was like, okay, then I'll go to the emergency room. And at the emergency, they sent her back and they said, no, don't worry, just take these meds again, take a rest. This should resolve in a bit. But anyway, did not resolve. So she went back again. And then that was the beginning of tons and tons of tests and several referrals to medical facilities.
Yeah.
Right. So remember Pablo, right? Pablo, who was also a doctor.
Oh, yeah.
So Lily then decides, remember Lily and Pablo also know each other. And then Lily decides to say to Pablo, Pablo, please just, can you have a look at my medical journal? Again, you needed a social security number to be able to access that. So anyway, Pablo got access to this. And then she read through. And then immediately Pablo calls me. And then so when Pablo calls me, and then she's like, well, Lily gave me access to a medical journal, and it seems that they're suspecting that Lily has cancer. In fact, they are actually saying they have what they're suspecting daughter cells of this cancer in liver. So basically, it means Lily has cancer, but right now she doesn't know it, because how it's written in the journal makes her think that it's a suspicion, not that it's like cancer, like, oh my God, I have cancer. It's more like, oh, we are suspecting that you have daughter cells of cancer in your liver, So because Pablo is a doctor and she knows all of these things, and she says, yes, this just basically means he has cancer.
Something about that is a bit off, though, isn't it? Because Pablo discussing this with you is not really that. Yeah, you know where I'm going with it, right?
Kind of like confidentiality and whatever.
Yeah.
Pablo knew that Lily, myself, and Amy were like besties. We were like our own family, kind of, if I'm to put it that way, right? So I think this was also Pablo's way of trying to let us figure out how we can be there for Lily without having to, I don't know, try to help her figure out the situation, right?
Right.
So Pablo says, yeah, now she has cancer and blah, blah, blah. That's that. So my heart sank. And I can say maybe it even settled in my stomach for a bit. And I even lost my words. That hardly happens. And I remember the only thing I could say was, oh no, So I told Amy that this was the situation.
Had she told Lily by this point, by the time she told you guys? Did she tell you before she told Lily, or she told Lily first before she told you guys?
She did not tell Lily that you have cancer, but she told me that Lily has cancer. So Lily didn't know this, and for her still it's a suspicion. So anyway, I call Amy and I tell Amy, like, girl, this is what's up. And that Lily doesn't know. So I spoke to Lily, but I didn't speak to Lily saying, girl, sorry that you have cancer, because I was trying to be sensitive to know that she doesn't know that she has cancer already. And so Lily was worried. She was worried about it being a suspicion. And then I remember I asked my manager at work if I could work from home for like the entire week, and she agreed because, I know we are allowed to work from home, but like sometimes it's like not exclusively. You also need to come to the office sometimes.
Yeah.
So I asked my manager to say, can I work from home the entire week? So she agreed. I packed my bags and off I was to go and be with Lily. To do what though? Like I didn't know. I had absolutely no idea. And I even told Amy that, like, I'm just coming there just to be there. Even if you don't want anything, I'm gonna be there. Even if you want something, I'm gonna be there. I'm just gonna be there. That's why I'm there. And on the train ride to Lily, I remember I was Googling, like, how do you show up for a friend that just discovered they have cancer? Well, she hadn't discovered she had cancer. It was a suspicion for her. And then Google said, no, I should understand that I should understand the person, that there's stages to it. Like there's denial, there's anger, there's grief, all of these kind of stages. So I kind of prepared myself for that, right? And indeed, I spent a week with Amy. And, she was in different mindsets. At first, she was like, no, you know what? Even if I do have cancer, I know a pastor who can pray for me and, spray some water, some holy water. And I know that I will be cancer free. So, that's going to work well, And then another time she would just say, you know what? I think I should plan to have a baby. Really, like if I have cancer, I think it's better for me to say, at least I have a baby, Then she was even planning to have a wedding day. But by the way, she didn't even have a boyfriend.
Wow. Okay.
So she was planning to have even a wedding, and we were laughing at her. But all of these things we were saying, and we were still like, just chuckling and all of those. Of course, there were moments where she was sad, and then I'd be there and be sad, just sit next to her. It was sad, but it was beautiful. I would say. I even ate her food that she didn't want to eat, and we even played games. Games like, have you ever, these, I think it was like a Facebook game also.
I remember that one. Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions was like, have you ever had surgery? And then I responded, I said, yes, I've had surgery. And she was like, I've never had surgery. And, the way she said it, she made it seem like, gosh, I was better than her. That I had surgery and she had never had surgery. And we even laughed about it, And So during this time that I was with her, we're just waiting for these results. And the results that we're waiting for, by the way, is to say, are these confirmed cancer cells in the liver? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the results that we're waiting for. So results came back, but I had also gone back. My week had ended, and I went back to my town, to Neverland. And the results came back and confirmed that Lily had stage 4 gallbladder cancer, and it had spread to the liver. And so that was like a shock. Like, what? How does this even happen? And Lily was an only child, by the way. And Lily's dad had passed away. I think she was like less than 10 years old. And her mom was a civil servant in the country that we came from. So she didn't really earn much. And Lily was the one supporting her mom. Lily worked as a cleaner in this country, by the way. So Amy and I knew that, okay, Lily doesn't earn much. But we never made it a big deal. And we never did stuff to show her that, we were all just equal, no one cared how much whoever, earned. So anyway, Amy, myself, and Pablo, we started thinking of ways to say, okay, how can we bring Lily's mom to this country, at least to visit Lily? And then Lily and, all of us now put our heads together and we said, okay, let's apply for a visa for Lily's mom to come. And let's just contribute money. We can even add other people to say, please help us raise money so that we can have Lily's mom come. So we made this happen as friends, and Lily's mom managed to come. And then Lily was prepped for chemo, and there were now like complications with like swollen vessels in her liver. And then they had to do surgery. So when Lily learned that now she had to do surgery, guess what Lily does? She calls me and she's like, girl, guess what? Now I'm getting surgery, and she was so she was kind of excited about it. Like, now we're going to be the same, and then we laughed about it. And also she had requested, like, I don't want to feel sad about all of this that's going on and things like that. It's already sad enough. So let's not feel sad about all of this. So we're like, okay, let's keep the laughing going. So the doctors said, okay, then she did her first round of chemo. It went well. But then at some point, the vessels in the liver started swelling again. And the doctor said, okay, if these vessels in the liver start swelling, if they keep doing this, then we actually have to stop chemo. And we sent her to palliative care. So basically to make her feel as comfortable as possible while she waits to die. And this is exactly what happened. She was sent to palliative care. And then as friends, we started to take turns to visit her and check on her mom too. Because the reason why we did this is because you know how it is, like, maybe I can give an example of a funeral when someone dies, and then there's like almost 100 people at your house. And then when the funeral's over and people are going back, and then there's this void when everybody else leaves, and it's just like, okay, maybe 5 people are left at the house and there's this huge void. So we're trying to avoid something like that. So we'd say, okay, give turn and say, okay, you go from this day to this day, and then you go from this day to this day, and just spreading it out so that there's no void and there's no overwhelming feeling perhaps for her or her mom. And so we started to do that. And then now it was my turn to visit her. And then I traveled, and then I got into the room. So this was now the second time I'm seeing her after the time I spent with her when she was still having suspicions. And I remember getting into this room, I actually had to control my facial expressions because in that short time, she had lost so much weight. And she was like jaundiced. Like, I mean, like her eyes were like yellow. So were her palms. And, like that's what jaundice does. And her breathing was so labored and it made noise. Then I sat with her mom, and, her mom was getting in and out. And, so I said to her, no, it's okay. You can take a break and walk around. You don't have to be here, And then I had brought like some scrubbing salt and some nail polish so I could like scrub her feet and paint her nails and just give her a massage afterwards. Because she was like, yeah, I would like that. So now I was choosing a nail polish color for her, and I was like, oh, what color do you want? And there was also now like a little bit of dark humor that we were, that we were tapping into. And then I asked her, like, what color do you want? And she's like, she started like really thinking. She's like, burgundy. That's a safe color, right? Then I laughed and I said, safe for who? And so then she looks up in the sky, it's like for them. And then we laughed so hard.
Yeah.
And then, gosh, the noise from the breathing, it was really loud. And it got to a point where now I couldn't hear it anymore because I was so acclimatized to the environment. And, we were talking and we were having a good time. She was asking a couple of questions. We were just having just chatting. But you can tell, of course, she's not feeling well. She's lost so much weight, and all of that. And then she asked me, then she's like, Baraka, please help me to sit on the floor. And so I was like, okay. And I helped her sit on the floor. So she was also weak and her neck was not strong enough to hold her head up. So I asked, well, do you want to rest your head on my chest? And then she agrees. She's like, yeah. So I did. So I kind of put myself in a squat and then rested her head on my chest. And then she asked me, remember, we knew a lot about each other. And I am the sense of smell girl. And then she says to me, Baraka, am I smelling bad? I said, no, not at all. And then she just proceeded to gasp and go quiet. And then the silence now became way louder than that way louder than the labored breathing. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm really not ready. I had this fear that just, grabbed me. And I was like, I am not ready for this. And then I started to call her Lily, and then she gasped again. And then the labored breathing started again. So I remember I was just now thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I am not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm just repeating this in my head to myself. And then she gasped again, and then the silence, and I called her, and then she came back. Then I remember vividly, I started to remember, it started to feel like a slow motion moment. And then I remembered vividly, the beautiful times we shared, the laughter we shared together, the breath of fresh air that Lily was. And I saw, it was just I was just remembering all of these things. And then I came back to present day, and I saw the labored breathing that she's having, the extreme weight loss, the pain that she's in. And I remember saying, Lily, it's okay. You can relax. And then there was immediate silence. And I held her so tight. And I was just wishing I could hear that labored breathing again. But I couldn't. And this was then followed by an avalanche of nurses coming in, doing their procedures. And this is how Lily and I's friendship ended. It was friendship until death.
Oof.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
That was the end. And I can say I really don't regret having loved her so much like that, and her loving me too, the way she did love me, together with Amy. It was a beautiful friendship that's ended in death. And funny enough, I can say sometimes I feel and think I wouldn't have had it any other way. It was one of the best friendships I have ever experienced in this life.
whilst this is a podcast that talks about friendship breakups, family breakups, and all of this, nobody has ever come to speak about loss like this, because loss and death give a whole new meaning to missing someone. Like, when somebody says, like you, when you say, I miss Lily, it's got such gravitas and such deep, deep, deep meaning to it.
Yeah.
That I'm confident it's going to speak to a lot of people who've suffered similar loss. Because just like the train tickets that the girls got, that was non-refundable. And that they couldn't bank on to have a journey back. She was on a one-way ticket, and, she would never come back to be with you beyond that last breath that she took.
Yeah.
It's almost as if all of the experiences that you were having, that you were doubtful of, that felt like they should have a return journey, were lessons to just give you the value of how important it is to love in every opportunity that you have, as if it's a one-way ticket for something.
Yeah.
And I think your name gives a whole new meaning to this, because it's a blessing.
I told you, Tinto.
You guys were an absolute blessing to each other.
We really were. Amy and I are still friends, even though we are in another extremely long distance friendship. We are still friends. Yeah.
Yo, Baraka. Hey, man. I wasn't ready for that, I did not see that coming at all.
Yeah. I guess I took the name of the podcast quite literally.
Yeah.
I allowed myself to feel. And I thought, you know what? Let me share this with people.
I got nothing more to say, but thank you.
My absolute pleasure.
And I know it has spoken to more than just myself in this episode, because I'm just remembering some of the friends that I've lost who I loved very hard too, very suddenly.
Yeah.
And your lesson when you say, when you love, just love, because leaving or separation is easy, and knowing that you're loved without holding back. Oh man, there's nothing more rewarding than that.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing more rewarding. In fact, this is way too relatable for me.
Yeah.
Sitting down here and busy hosting this and having this speak to you very personally and very directly is very deep. I don't even know how I'm going to close this. I can't close it out like I normally do, but all I'm just going to say is thank you.
I can close it for you, actually. I do not see it as a sad thing that Lily, Amy, and I went through. I see it as one of the most beautiful things that have happened. Separation is actually, let me not say separation. Death is actually the only thing that's guaranteed on this earth, actually. But for some reason, I feel like we are kind of never really prepared for it. But I believe, or through this experience, I believe the only preparation we can have is loving fully. Because I think it was easier for me to let go of Lily, knowing that I did everything that I could have possibly done. I loved her in every way I could have possibly done, and so did she. So when that guarantee comes and when that guarantee visits us, it's easier to accept that, yeah, this is what's there. I mean, because what more could we all have done? There was nothing more we could have done.
No.
We did our part. So in as much as I guess other people feel like it's a sad thing that happened, I still stand and say it's one of the most beautiful things I have ever experienced.
You celebrated, yeah.
I celebrated. Yeah. And I have lots and lots and lots of pictures of Lily, because she always wanted to take my phone and take pictures. At some point, it was like my phone was Lily's phone. because there was a lot of Lily's pictures in my phone.
Yeah.
So I still have those, and they make me feel happy. I laugh sometimes when I go through those pictures, and I remember that this is the girl that freed me from the vanilla laughs, and I'm so happy.
Hey man, thanks for that reminder to all of us, to love and love hard when you still have the opportunity, and don't have a point in time that you look back and you say, I wish I had done this. I feel exactly the same about my experience with my mother. There's not a thing that I look back and I say, I wish I had done this. And then I also, think of the same of my my best friend, Nyasha. I look back and there's not a thing that I look back and say, I wish I had done either more or less or different. It was very wholesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, I guess for those who are having difficult friendships, over trivial things, and there's an opportunity to make the best out of it, maybe start focusing on what really matters.
Yeah.
Which is having that one experience with someone to the point that when death does come and do you apart as friends, as family, as lovers, etc., you know that you did your best without holding back.
Sure.
Thanks, Baraka.
My pleasure.